So now we're going to stain. Our most popular color is Early American, and we've experimented with water base, but primarily we've used the oil base, the solvent base. It says on the can, solvent based stain. That is our default stain color. We've been experimenting with water, but we're not ready to make the switch at this time. So unless we decide otherwise, we're going to assume we're going to go ahead and use this solvent based stain. Obviously you need gloves for this application. I could use a stick to fish it out. Maybe I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to stir it up a little as well. And squeeze out the excess. I want to leave a little on there. What I've got in front of me are bed panels for a king size bed. We're going to stain the front side, the finished side. I'm going to do the edges as well. So basically when I stain, I just want to keep it moving. I don't want to stop for a period of time, because what it could do is leave a mark where I stopped and started. So generally speaking, I just want to keep it moving. I like to stain with the grain for the most part. I'm going to go ahead and hit my edges as well. So I just want to make sure I get 100% coverage, because I'm going to go back over in a minute with a clean rag and wipe off the excess. Sometimes you got to squeeze it out a little to get inside some of the crevices. Now this back side, I could go ahead and stain now as well. It does need to get stained at some point. I think I will. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over and do the back side as well. This won't be seen. This will be against the wall, but it is going to seal up the wood. And I've got some footboard panels that we'll go ahead and hit as well. Generally speaking, we prefer to stain in parts, and then we take those parts and then we assemble those parts after each individual part has been stained. You can control the quality of the staining better by staining in parts versus staining after it's been assembled. It's hard to get in those little corners where maybe two pieces of wood come together. So this is a better way to get a better quality product. We have some raised grain on this last one. I didn't have enough stain on my sponge, so I went ahead and dipped it in there again. So I've hit all my surfaces, and it looks like I got 100% coverage. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on the container, put the sponge in the container, and then I'm going to grab a clean, dry rag. I'm going to go back to where I started. And I'm just going to go over everything that I stained, and I'm going to wipe off the excess. So I want a nice uniform coverage. You can see that I am removing some material there. Take it all the way around it. Then I'll go ahead and put it back up on the shelf. When you put these on the shelf, ideally you don't want to leave them hanging over, especially if it was a finished side. If we leave this hanging over overnight and I take a look at it in the morning, more than likely there's going to be a line because it's going to dry differently. Now this happens to be the back side, so it's not as big of a deal, but it's just good practice to put your parts completely on the shelf when you're finished wiping them out. And then we want to let this stain dry overnight before we are going to apply the final finish on it, which will be a beeswax finish. So generally our preference is not to stain and wax on the same day, because we want to allow enough dry time for that stain. Okay, I'll go ahead and put these up on the rack. Our staining is done. Now the last thing I want to do is properly dispose of this oily rag. This is combustible. They can spontaneous combust. So we have a metal bucket and container outside that we're going to put it in. And that goes for beeswax rags, stained rags, oil, poly,